Hi, Wilna here again, and welcome to part 2 to today's project. So in this part we are going to be doing the inside pages. So you want to start off with your square, and my measurements are 192 millimeters by 192 millimeters. So I basically cut 8 pieces of cardstock that size, and 3 of them are going to be a solid photo, so I only am going to make 5 little pages. And I decided to make it with layers, so you will see how I'm going to create these 5 pages, and they're really not going to take a lot of time to make it. I think making the album itself was harder work than making the little pages. So you can see I'm adding a piece of the book there, and then just a piece of a 6 by 6 inch paper pad paper. You will see this is a wonderful album to use those little paper pads, and I'm sure you also have just as many as I have. So I was going with shades of grey, and now I'm just going to color with some gelatos, white, grey and a light pink, and just add some water to that and just make it a little artistic. And I want to do a little technique on every page. Just add some water, and then I decided to add some grey ink on the grey part of the gelatos. So I'm just using some pinstripe ink on this and a big brush, and I'm just splattering some ink, and you can see how it's flowing into the water, and that was the whole idea. Just using the heat embossing tool to dry it really quick. And like I said, I decided to make these 5 pages that I'm going to embellish just layered and full of texture, with a little technique on every page. So yeah, coffee for anyone. So I didn't want to overthink these little pages, but I did place them all in front of me when I started off, and I just went through my stash and I just added some embellishments to each of them in the color scheme that we are working in, and in the end I just loved the result. Also, the photos that I'm using was taken by an amazing photographer. Her name is Danny van Steeland, and she did such a wonderful job. And what I love about the photos, it has a winter feel to it, and the colors were just perfect for this project. So I'm using a Heidi swap frame, some die cuts that I did with my silhouette, and I'm just layering it. That's a Dear Lizzie flower flourish that I just cut in half. And you can see just the idea of layering the embellishments. I also made some handwritten titles, like I said in the first video. And if you don't know how to do that, I did a little tutorial on my last Indemuter scrap video, where I explained step by step. I think it's on the 16-minute mark of the Indemuter scrap video. And I explained to you how to write and how to transfer that into Photoshop and make a title to be cut with a silhouette. On the mood board for this month, January, there are some beautiful winter images and some berries, branches of berries, and I decided to use those little enamel dots and that's almost a theme through every little page is these branches with those red enamel dots that just suggest the winter berries So just to give a little bit of color. And I think what makes this mood board so brilliant is the fact that it's winter, but it's not Christmas. So that's a very good mood board to use if you want to do something winter but not Christmas. And I think with all the snow that North America is experiencing in the cold, I think it's just a perfect mood board. So I want the title that I did cut with my silhouette just to pop a little bit more, and so I'm just outlining it with a pen, and I'm using Becky Higgins Project Life pens, which I love. And I also used her photo corner rounder on some of the pages. Another thing that I was thinking about was that leave a lot of space for journaling, because I do want to write some stories on this page. For instance, on this page, the title is Be Kind, and that's rule number 1 in our house, is be kind to one another. And the girls can recite it in their sleep, because that's just the philosophy of our family since they were very little. I wish I can say they never fight, and that's not quite true, but I think for the most part they are super kind to one another. Right, for the second page I'm going to use Vellum, and I'm going to spray paint some silver dots on there, because the embellishments or the metal color I'm bringing in here and there is silver. So that's a cool idea. So I had a die cut that I made with my silhouette, and you can find this in Art Class 2 in the last chapter. I do a whole page where I explain stuff like that. And I'm just going to put the page down, and then I'm going to use silver spray paint, and I'm just going to spray paint it. Very quick, very light. And voila, there you have silver spray painted. And isn't that lovely? So now I just had to decide where I want to put it, and in the end I put it right at the back. There you go. So I'm just stapling it together, because later on I will be sewing it with my machine. And that's also a 6x6 piece of paper, and I'm just cutting it a little smaller. A little frame by Dear Lizzie, and another frame, I think it's great, the Peer collection that frame is from. And a deer, because there's a deer on the mood board, as well as a fox. And I knew I had a fox flare, but it was missing. But in the end I did find it, and I'm so happy to add it to one of the pages. You will see it in the final photographs. So that saying is speak your heart. And I think that's one thing that I would love to see happen in our family, is for everyone to be able to speak their truth, and there must be enough grace and freedom to do so. I was an adult when I learned to speak my truth, and even to this day it's not as easy for me, and my husband and I just resolved that our girls will learn that from a very early age, and that they won't be able to only speak their truth, but they will be heard, so I think it's just a little principle to me. That is Tia, and this page we are going to add some molding paste again. So I'm just adding 2 pieces of paper, 6 by 6. The one is arrows and that one is hearts, little dark gray. And now I'm going to take that stencil, and it's by Prima, but you can use any stencil in this, and there you can see the little light that I'm using on my camera. And now we're going to spread some molding paste, but I'm going to give it a quick spray with adhesive, just a light, very light spray, so that it just will hold its place while I can add the molding paste to it. Like I said in the first video, if this is something that you think you will enjoy doing, then in art class 1 I have a whole chapter on molding paste, and it was one of my favorite chapters to make, and I'll show you some very creative ways to use molding paste. Simple, creative, not hard, but simple, to use molding page on pages. So there you can see how lovely it looks. And molding paste you can just rinse off with hot water, and that's what I'm running to do after I put it back, because you don't want it to dry in your stencil, and most stencils are made out of a plastic type of material, so it rinses off wonderfully. And just as a finishing touch, I'm just adding a little bit of silver glitter to the wet molding paste, and I actually hope that less of it will stick to the molding paste, but in the end it is what it is. So that's a cool idea to remember. So I'm just going to put that aside until it dries, and then we're going to come back to that page. So for this page, unfortunately I didn't video it, but I did some silhouette die cuts with my silhouette, of course, stars in Vellum, and then I just stitched it to the background, as you can see there. And now I'm just going to proceed to finish my page by just layering the elements. So those are also berries that I just die cut with my silhouette, looking for the right spot. And the title that I hand wrote and made into a silhouette file, and a little frame. So sometimes you know what you want on a page, you're just not entirely sure where to put everything, and once you discover that, everything works out greatly. So this title is Love Fiercely, and it's always been a saying to me. I always find it interesting that I build fierce friendships, and I love loving fiercely. So now I'm just going to staple it together, and the reason for this is because later on I want to stitch it, and then at least it will keep everything together until then. I love that mini tiny attacher by Tom Holtz, little stapler, so that's lovely. And again you can see those little enamel dots that I'm using to suggest the winter berries, so that's sweet. And it's funny enough because I have a whole tree of them in front of my driveway, so it's special. Right, we're almost done creating our pages, and so for this one I'm just using 2 pieces of the book paper, and I'm adding this grey text to it. And if you hear a noise in the background, it's my husband on the treadmill. So again, the Heidi Swap frame this cute little photo of Jana, and I'm just going to embellish it very simply, and add some paint splashes to it. So I'm just going to forward it so that you can see how I did it. And I use some hot glue for the phrases. And I love to use photo corners to add my photos. I think it's such a lovely finishing touch. And I'm also going to add a flourish or a branch with the red berries. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's really not a bright red. It's more like an orange red or a pink red. And a little gold flower from Maggie Holmes. And now I'm going to add some ink splatters. I'm using Pinstripe by Studio Calico and a big round brush. And I think it's just perfect. Right, and then coming back to the page where we added the molding paste, I'm using a photo of Tia, and then I'm just adding photo corners to the photo that you can't see, and I'm just adding a little piece of the book paper and just putting it down and deciding what else do I need to add. And at this stage I'm thinking not to overdo it, because that page is already busy. And I think if I could have done it over, I would not have added the silver glitter. I think it takes away. I love the white. So I decided to use this little tool, and that's the tool I poked myself with, to just adhere the words and just flatten it on the hot glue. So that works wonderful. And again, just a few red dots. I think you can do a search on the Silhouette store, something like winter berries or berries, anything with berry, and I think you will get to the files that I got. So Own Your Truth is the name of this little page. Right, and as a finishing touch, I just want to add some rub-ons, and I found these lovely silver feathers in my stash by Jenny Bolin. I have gold ones and silver ones, and I was delighted when I saw the silver ones, and I think it's just a perfect little final touch. So what I did is I added a feather on a few of the pages, not on every one, but on a few. And Jenny Bolin's rub-ons are amazing. You can see how easily they go on. Now, I wish all the rub-ons work like that, but it's simply fantastic. And a few ink splatters there. And again, you can see it's just a couple of rubs and then the feather is there. And so I went through all of the little pages to see if it needs anything and where can I add it. And then I just did my journaling on the pages. And I will show you how I did my journaling, but I'll forward it really quick. Just because I think to each its own, you know, you're not going to write what I'm going to write on my page. That would just be weird. But anyway, so I left lots of room for journaling, and I really tried to make it as meaningful as possible. And these are things that's been discussed almost daily in our house, you know. Be kind, speak your truth, speak from your heart, live your truth, own your truth, you know. And it's really not just to have a say. There's the little fox. Did you see it? I just love it. And there's a lovely fox on the mood board. So I was so happy when I found it. And I think it's a 2-piece exclusive. I think. I'm not entirely sure. So, and it's not just to have a say, but to really live it and in their spiritual lives as well. So this is super important to me. Everyone is worthy of love and belonging. And if you've read Brene Brown's books, then you'll know what I mean. Anyway, so this is the album with just the spine. You can see I added a piece of paper that I rounded the corners to the insides of the page. And now I'm going to show you how to bind the album. So you're taking page 1 and 2 and you are sticking them together, but you are you're not putting tape on the edges where the sides like there, where we're going to add them to the spine. So what you want to do is you want to put a piece of tape on one side of the accordion and then on the other side of the accordion. And now you are going to first align the second page. And when that is aligned, the other one will align automatically. So it takes a little practice, but it's absolutely worth it when you've done it properly. So I'm just making sure where not to put the tape. So I'm adhering page 3 and 4 to each other, leaving that piece open where it has to adhere to the accordion, and then I'm going to add double-sided tape to that part and the other part, and really it works wonderful. And now just be sure, I had to cut off that piece and it was a little menace. So adhere that part properly, and then the other part it's almost like it will snap to it automatically. But to keep the two pieces apart while you adhere the first part is rather tricky. So this is page 5 and 6. And now I'm just adding the double-sided tape. And you can see that page specifically that's in front of us, how the tone on tone comes through there. And I really feel that this album is in accord with the mood board. So it's a really lovely, lovely mood board. So I had to cut that tag just a little because it has to be 100% flat. So adhered, and then that one just works together. And it turns easily and it keeps the album together, and it's really a wonderful way to make a mini album. And you can really make a mini album. You can make it as small or as big as you want to. You just have to measure it accordingly. So that's the last pages, 7 and 8, I think. And this one was a little tricky to adhere, just because of the angle of that last accordion. So, but it's not undoable. So I decided to adhere 7 first, the big photo, and then the last one. So you can see I struggled a little bit, but just take your time and do it properly. And there you go. Your album is done, and it's perfect, and it's neat, and it's lovely. And you can see how beautiful the big photographs work with the pages. And I just want to say I printed the photos at home on my Epson photo printer R1900. It's a wide format printer, and I used the Hahnemuhle fine art paper, which is amazing. So I've discovered that gloss printing is not as good with these printers for some reason, but if you print matte, it's fantastic. Now I'm just stapling a piece of ribbon to the front and to the back, but then my staples were finished, so I just adhere the last piece with hot glue, and then you can just tie it up neatly, and it looks fabulous. So here's a look at the final album, and I must admit I love how neatly it turned out to be, and I loved how the big photos offset with the intricate, delicate pages, so it just worked wonderful. And I'm so happy with it, and I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope to see your albums. I know we just came out of December, and maybe you're tired of mini albums, but this is really a family album that I will cherish for the rest of my life, and it's something very, very special. So thank you for watching the first installment of Inspired, a new video series, and I will see you soon on 2 Piece in a Bucket. Bye.